to look at Mid-South Wrestling, episode 270. Rodney, what date did that play?
That played on November the 8th of 1984. It opens up with Boyd Pierce and Bill Watts. Bill Boyd, always our favorite. Bill was again there. We had the dream match. They had introduced the dream match where the fans would be able to send into West Breckenridge so that they could have their dream match on television. And so they would be running that contest. Then they review the Rock and Roll Express and Jim Cornette Midnight Express situation with the $25,000. And they go back and they recap the entire situation involving the straitjacket and the attack of the Midnight Express where Ricky Morton got pile driving. And, of course, Robert Gibson was all tied up in that straitjacket, put on, by the way, by Ricky Morton, with the fans telling him not to do it. But anyway, Cornette was stomping Robert Gibson, and then Ricky Morton was getting a pile driver followed by the Boston Crab. Dennis Condrey had him in the Boston Crab, and then Bobby Eaton comes off the top rope, and it was the people were hot. They were hot. They reviewed that, and then we go to the video of Jim Ross and Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson on the scaffold, 20 foot in the air, 16 from the ring, 16 feet from the ring, and they explain the stipulations that they're going to go with, put the Mid-South Tag Team titles against the $25,000 of Jim Cornette on the scaffold match. And they had those all over the Mid-South, not only at the Superdome, but they had them all over the Mid-South. Then, does anybody want to comment on any of this so far?
Well, I do want to say this. Jim Ross was sitting on that scaffold.
He was laying on it.
And what I felt was very interesting was Ricky Morton, while he was doing his interview, he was holding his mic and he said, you know, it's really scary up here, especially with Robert Gibson shaking this scaffold. I found that to be a pretty good part of the interview.
All right, now we have match number one. It's Del Vesey and Jack Victory against Ricky Morton, Robert Gibson, Rock and Roll Express. It was short work as the double drop kick was executed on Jack Victory, Rock and Roll Express over on that one. Not much to say there. I think they were trying to beat Magnum TA's record, honestly. Well, no, this was before Magnum TA's record, but anyway. So now we have an interview with it's a press conference called by the General, Skandor Akbar, Jim Cornette, Buddy Landell, Hercules Hernandez. And in this, a transaction has taken place. Now, General Skandor Akbar is the new manager of Hercules Hernandez, now Sheik Hernandez. And during that interview, Akbar accosts Mr. Landell over why he still has the Rolex watch. He was supposed to be giving it to something or doing something with it. He has no idea what yet, as of yet. But in this point, what I began to see is the changing. It's the diminishment of Cornette and the Midnight Express, and in comes Akbar, sort of the change taking place. Very sad to see. Well, let me get your opinions on that, and we'll go ahead. Jack, what's your opinions of that?
I agree with you. I nothing against Akbar. I liked Akbar, but when you're comparing the two of him and Cornette, there's really not much to compare there. I mean, Jimmy was so far ahead of just about every manager in the South at that time. So, yeah, I wasn't real thrilled about it either.
You know what I thought too? It kind of stooged off who was going to lose the tag match. You kind of seen that the Rock and Roll was going to beat the Midnight Express and what has to be one of the worst matches in professional wrestling history, the scaffold match. It works good when you have somebody like Bill Dundee in it, Coco Beware, or someone that's not afraid of heights. But when you start putting people up there that are scared of heights, it just the match just doesn't come over well.
Yeah, I agree with Jack. What we will see, and Mr. Dibiase has said and stated publicly, I think several times, that Bill Dundee hot-shotted the territory. Well, I got some news for Mr. Dibiase. Mr. Dibiase, you and what your stuff is that everybody saw in 1982 and 83, it was old hat then, and if they think they're going to do old hat again, it was just that you couldn't follow it with the same stuff that you were doing before. There was other words. If there was a pause there, you can add your own little word in there if you'd like. But no, Bill Dundee didn't hot shot anything. You couldn't follow the Midnight Express.
Well, if you go back and you look at what hot shotting would be, really, when you go back and watch the TVs, and we've reviewed the TVs from January all the way here to what was the date again?
It's November the 8th.
November the 8th. You don't see hot shotting in this. You see a lot of talent get moved through. Now, I will admit there's a lot of talent that gets moved through, and maybe they shouldn't have moved the talent as quickly as they did. I don't know why that was going on. I don't understand why PYT and the Fantastic was moved through. The Midnight had such a whole lot more that they could have offered there, but for whatever reason, the moment the rock and roll leaves, they just kind of give up on the Midnight Express and say, okay. Even when they bring them in rock and roll back, they really don't do anything with the rock and roll in them. So, and maybe in the arenas, if I go back and I look at the towns, I might be able to see it better. But television wise, you didn't see it.
No. And I agree with that. All right, now here comes the thing they've been building up for the last few weeks with Buddy Landell and the Rolex watch. As match number 2 is going to be Hacksaw Butch Reed against one of our favorites here, Jim Morton. Just tremendous. And Horton was absolutely awesome in this whole situation here. If you got a chance, ladies and gentlemen, he was stellar. Absolutely stellar, especially as Dibiase threw him out of the ring. It was fantastic. Anyway, it was Buddy Landell. During the introductions, Buddy Landell comes in and says that he has made a deal with he and Akbar, and now he thinks that they should join Akbar in his quest to once again, for the, I believe, 3rd time, take over Mid-South Wrestling. Okay, so now Reed says that he has nothing to do with General Akbar. He said, but this Rolex watch is for you. It's a presidential Rolex watch. I have no idea what that means. I'm sure it means something. I guess it means something. I know maybe they said something about $12,000. If you have a watch that's $12,000, I wouldn't be wearing that.
I don't know. I think that was one of those that Dad used to buy. You know, the fake Rolex.
Always regretted not getting one of those from him.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so he gives the watch to Reed, and Reed said, "Let me tell you what I think of this." And of course, Reed says he said him and Landell have an argument. Landell says something about, "I've trained you well. You've learned a lot." So he said, "What are you talking about? You trained me. I'll just let you hang out with me because I felt sorry for you." And then proceeds to take the Rolex watch, throw it down on the ring, and it falls apart. He stomps it, and Landell has a conniption. Pushes Reed. Reed cleans his clock, as Bill Watts had been predicting for a few weeks back. Cleans the clock.
He was under the book, and he knew that was 6.5.
Okay, and then comes Akbar, Hernandez, and Dibiase. And Akbar, he's awesome in this. I'll just tell you, he's really awesome in this. He tells Reed, he said, "No, I'm here. It's peace. We're here. We're coming peace. We just want you a part of this organization. That's all it is." And then he, of course, Reed didn't, he declines, and he finally says, "Let me tell you the way it is, Reed. Either you are with us or you are against us." And Reed says, "Well, I guess I'm against you," and proceeds to slap Akbar. And then all three, Landell, Hernandez, and Dibiase, all on Reed. They're beating the crap out of Reed. And then, of course, Jim Horton tries to get involved. Dibiase, out the ring he goes. Fantastic move for Jim Horton, one of our favorites here. It continues until Hacksaw Jim Duggan clears the ring with a 2x4. And I wonder if he would have made contact if that would have been a $10,000 fine.
You know, but did Bill Watts, am I wrong about this? Did Bill Watts say something like, "Well, sometimes you have to fight fire with fire"? Did he say?
Well, and also that wasn't during an official match. Or was it? No, the match had not begun yet. So anyway, Duggan's out with a 2x4 cleaning house. They go to a commercial, come back.
By the way, when Duggan came out, did you see the people?
Yeah.
Now, I want you to see that. Go back and watch Mid-South Wrestling episode 270. Go back and watch this show. Go watch the Rock and Roll Express come out. And then go watch when Jim Duggan comes out. Two separate types of people who are over. Jim Duggan, everybody was standing. Rock and Roll, not as much the second time they came back. Not their fault. Not their fault, period. But they just didn't have that same, because them leaving the way they left, it just didn't get them over. They just didn't get them back over when they came back the way they were prior to it. And we were there. We were there when they were there at the beginning and the pops they received, and we were there when they brought them back. And they just didn't. It wasn't their fault. It was just the them leaving and no explanation of why they left didn't help them any.
Jack, what did you think about that?
Well, I agree. They you could see the difference in the reception they were getting there. And again, not Rock and Roll's fault. They were, this is a time period where I think they were as good as they ever were.
Yep.
And they still had years ahead of them of being good, but they were great here. But Duggan was over. Duggan was over. I'm sorry, we're Duggan in Mid-South.
Yes, right. It's Duggan. Yes, the big deal down there. Come back to the desk. It's an interview with Bill Watts and Boyd Pierce with Reed and Duggan, and they agreed to team together to go against Akbar and his army. Coming up, match number 3 is not the first appearance, but the latest appearance of Chavo and Hector Guerrero as they face Mike Jackson and Shawn Michaels. And Shawn Michaels in this one paid his dues. Let's just say he was paying the dues. Comes out finally in the end as Michaels making a tag to Mike Jackson in a flurry of drop kicks. He was drop kicking the Guerreros. He went to drop kick Hector. Chavo pushes him out of the way, falls back on his head. Mike Jackson does. Chavo then grabs him and puts him into, or Hector grabs him, puts him in a full Nelson, takes him back. And then it's Chavo on the second rope, comes off with a kind of a roll, I would say, a headbutt roll into the chest, and it was all over for Mike Jackson and Shawn Michaels as Chavo and Hector Guerrero, the Alamo Busters, win on Mid-South Wrestling for their initial, appearance. And soon we'll be going after the Rock and Roll Express. Match number 4. Oh, well, let me just get your impressions of the Guerreros. Jack?
Oh, I thought they were great. I wrestled Hector one time. I thought my cardio was great until I got in the ring with Hector, and I found out it was not. but yeah, though I thought it was great, fast-paced match, solid. You see why their legacy as a family still lives on today. Those guys were awesome.
Great finish. Love the finish. Never saw it before, I don't think.
They were original, and they were doing super business in Houston. I mean, super business. So it only seems right that, if you're doing well in one market, especially a big market like Houston, that you would be brought to the rest of the Mid-South. And like I said, they were doing some great stuff with Jose Lothario and just awesome stuff. Match number 4, Ted DiBiase against Lee Ramsey. And, of course, it was Lee Ramsey's first encounter, first match on Mid-South Wrestling. That's what Bill Watts said. DiBiase super aggressive in this one. In the end, it's the DiBiase catching Ramsey with the power slam into the figure 4. Can't get any better than that. DiBiase over in that one. Brent?
Go ahead.
There's nobody better than Ted DiBiase. That man
he is a wrestling machine, no doubt. Jack?
That's what I was going to say. Typical DiBiase, absolutely awesome. Everything he's ever done, I love Ted DiBiase.
He is a wrestling machine, no doubt about that. Match number 5, just a tremendous match in my opinion. It's a Midnight Express. Dennis and Bobby, Jim Cornette at ringside against Brickhouse Brown and Master G. Just a super match. And the way they ended that one was awesome. Absolutely awesome. All 4 men in the ring. Master G over with Dennis Condris, Bobby Eaton with Brown. Brown shot in the ropes. Cornette goes and trips him. He kind of goes short. He jumps up. Brown jumps up, try to go after Cornette. It's Bobby Eaton from behind catches him. Dennis is distracting the referee by going up on the top rope with Master G on the outside. Master G's preventing Dennis from going off the top rope. Dennis sneaks to the opposite side, goes up to the top rope, comes out with the elbow smash off the top rope, which is a disqualification in Mid-South. However, referee didn't catch it. It's a 3 count on Brickhouse Brown Midnight Express. Over. Britt, what did you think about that?
That's the reason I think such a mistake was made in getting rid of the Midnight Express at that point in time. I think they had a lot more left because they were the people that had the most heat. The people responded to them more than they responded to anybody else. I just thought this match was tremendous. The whole finish was magnificent. So I just hated to see them leave. I did. I hated to see them leave the time.
Yeah, it was to me it was a sad time because we knew how good they were, and they showed it time and time again. Just how Jack, what did you think about that one?
Midnight Express, greatest heel tag team of all time, in my opinion. I can't add more than that.
Just super. And like I said, it wasn't that anything got hot shot. It's just teams after that just couldn't follow them. That's just as plain as day. They just couldn't follow them. Nobody could follow the Midnight Express.
And whatever you give the Rock and Roll, remember the Midnight Express was in the ring with the Rock and Roll, and that's when they did the big business. Now, that's the one thing I think people need to think. It was those 5 people, when take Jim Cornette, that made that whole thing work. But the Midnight Express is the ones that they knew how to get heat. Dennis Condrey, Bobby Eaton knew what.
I know at the time, and of course we had not seen much of the stuff with Dibiase Akbar, but there was a distinct difference in the show. For whatever reason, Cornette and Midnight brought a special star, a special quality to the show that others just couldn't duplicate. They just couldn't. Absolutely not. Match number 6 was an interesting one, to say the least, as our good friend and one of our favorites, the North American champion, the Big Cat, Ernie Ladd, and Buddy Landell to face Tony Falk and Bill Dundee. While the introductions were being made, Magnum TA comes out and he talks Tony Falk out of wrestling in that match to take his place. And Ernie Ladd was going to have none of it, and he took exception. There's no way I'm going to do this. Man's trying to hurt me. I will not stand for this. And he gets out and he walks out. So then Bill decides it was just Landell in the ring. Bill says, well, it's just me and Landell then. And Landell said, hold it. Ernie's calling me. I got to go. And they both leave. I thought it was awesome leaving Bill Dundee and Magnum TA in the ring. It was short, sweet, but I loved it. Ernie Ladd and Landell was just awesome, especially when Landell said, wait, hold it. I think Ernie's calling me. He runs out. They end the show with, of course, talking about the dream match again, and an interview with Steve Dr. Death Williams challenging Jim Duggan to that. We were going to see it a few weeks ago, the helmet match, a football helmet match on television, and also on the next week's show with the Mid-South Television Championship on the line, Exotic Adrian Street and the superstar Bill Dundee. And that will be all on episode 271.
All right, that's Mid-South Wrestling, episode 270, our review of that program.